Yo, 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 we are back. I am back from vacation. It's your Bleacher Boys Sports Podcast. It's your host, Brian Hill, with my co-host, Gavin Murphy. Bro, how you doing? How's it going?
Going good, man. Going good. Got to play some golf today. Vibing, chilling. Got Game 7 coming up, and just hanging out, man. Work, staying busy, and of course, summertime coming up. Plans, and we got different trips planned. Going to Savannah for the July 4th weekend, so that'll be fun. Gonna go over there with the fam, and everything's good, man. How's everything going on your end of the world?
We're good. I'm a little burnt out on, the whole beach pool thing. We went to Florida 3 weeks ago for a week. And I just got back from Jamaica. That's why I couldn't do the podcast last week because the internet there is just not good enough for streaming. And I brought my laptop and I tried it the day before. And I was like, man, this is just not going to be worth it. Because it worked out with Jake Miller because at least we still got you and his conversation. But I was like,
Yeah,
if I'm blacked out for the whole thing, then that's just it's gonna be retarded.
yeah, nah.
But man, I'm good. Drink way too much. I still have like jerk sauce like coming out of my sweat pores this week. Ate a lot of jerk chicken and beef patties over there, but it was great. Jamaican people absolutely love me. So I'm very appreciative, and hopefully we went 2 years in a row, so hopefully we can make it 3 years in a row. A little nervous because the resort that my in-laws have been going for 9 years now.
Okay.
And then like my family, this was our second year. Some other extended members of our family have been going for like 5 to 7 years. Well, the resort was bought out by Hyatt and they're renovating next year. So
Okay.
one, we don't know if like the area that the rooms we normally stay in are going to be available when we want to go. And two, like we're kind of worried. We're like doing the renovation, the Hyatt taking over. Like, is the pricing range going to jack up so much that we won't be able to afford it anymore?
Yeah.
So that'd be interesting to see. But we're going to follow up because I think we went with a crew of 12 last year. It was 10 this year. So actually next year we might be able to get like 14 to 15 if everything lines up well. So we go with a big group and we kind of stick together, have a lot of fun. So hopefully we can do that again. But let's get into sports. We're not quite in the dog days of summer quite yet because
No.
but I mean with NBA season wrapping up literally in about 5 hours, and then
Uh-huh.
the NFL kind of being in mini camp. Those guys are about to go on vacation. And the NHL season just wrapped up as well. Florida Panthers, I believe, back-to-back NHL champions. So
Yeah, I believe so.
shout out to Florida teams winning a cold weather sport.
Yeah.
I don't know how that quite works. I know that the Lightning won one, I think, back in 2022 as well. So shout out to Florida for dominating the NHL. They do every other sport.
I know that's
Um,
right.
but right before we get into the dog days of sports, man, we had some big things coming on the horizon. But let's start off with the NBA Finals. So
Yep.
we are in Game 7. I believe I saw this is the first time since 2016 that we're getting a Game 7 in the NBA. And in NBA history, since the merger, I believe this is only the seventh Game 7 since the merger, which happened in like 81, I believe.
Okay.
81, 80,
Of like the
81.
finals you talking about? Like just the
Yeah,
finals itself? Okay, gotcha.
yeah. Because really NBA stats really only count like post merger when the ABA and the NBA merge, and we got Dr. J and the NBA and all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting a gym. I think at this point, really, literally anything could happen. A lot of people had. I think most betting people had OKC winning this in 5 or 6 games. I know most of the money was on OKC as they were huge favorites to win a series outright. But I actually had one buddy because I told him about a bet that you could bet that basically the series would go more than 5 games or go more than 6 games. You had good odds on that. And I had a buddy that did the series to go more than 6 games to push through a Game 7. I think I forget what the odds were, but I know he put $100 down and he got like 970 something dollars back. So
Damn.
I thought about that bet and I should have put like $50 down and I would have gas money to get to work this week. But man, what is how have you felt about this series, and what is your prediction for Game 7 tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's coming to kind of, it's shaping up the way we kind of saw it going. I think a lot of people were expecting, like, the average fan was kind of expecting OKC to run away with it. I know we had both mentioned, we could see it going. I mean, I know I had said we could see it going to 6 and then see it going to 7. We had both, kind of tossed that idea around. I think it's a testament. We kind of talked a little bit off air. It's a testament to how good of a team, an actual team, the Pacers are. They don't have a bunch of superstars. They got Tyrese Halliburton and they got Siakam, or the big two that you would kind of throw. And then their third option, it kind of is a toss-up every night. But they play well together, and I just think it's a testament to them and how good they actually are. I still am going to take OKC tonight. I think playing at home on their own court in front of their home fans, I think it's kind of give them that momentum to take Game 7 and win the first chip for the Thunder.
Yeah, man. I think before the series, I think I said I was taking OKC with my head, but I had the Pacers in my heart. And I think I'm just going to flip flop and just take the Pacers outright tonight. I know Game 6 is kind of an aberration because they blew them out, and they pretty much had control of the game from, I think, about the 7-minute mark in the first quarter throughout the rest of the game, and it wasn't close at all. But I mean, that is a lot of positive momentum coming into the Game 7. And Rick Carlisle, who I'm going to ask you a question about him to follow this up, but I feel like Rick Carlisle is really the X factor in this series because he has made the necessary changes in the series to be able to compete with OKC, who was a number one seed and the number one seed in the entire NBA and had a very dominant season. But two, just to push this series all the way to Game 7, as they were huge, massive underdogs going into the series. And my follow-up question is, so I believe the stat is Rick Carlisle will be the 5th coach to win a championship with 2 different franchises. If he does this with his first championship being also a huge underdog with the Dallas Mavericks taking out the big 3, Miami Heat, LeBron, Wade, and Bosh back in the day, one, does this push Rick Carlisle to like the upper echelon of not just active coaches, but all coaches all time? And like, what is your outlook on Rick Carlisle as a coach overall if the Pacers are able to take Game 7 tonight?
I think Rick Carlisle is going to be one of those coaches that's going to be, what's the word I'm looking for, severely underrated. I don't think he'll get the respect that he deserves. I mean, did you even look back to last year, the series against the Celtics, and you look at what he did and pushed it, and and they came in as underdogs there. So you look at those things, and I do think Rick Carlisle is probably one of the better coaches all time. I don't necessarily think he'll get the respect that he deserves all time, though. I think that there's some other people that are probably more willing to be ahead of him, but he's one of those ones that I think a true fan, a true, person that knows sports, knows coaching or anything about it, has a very good appreciation for what he has done in his coaching tenure. And I don't think it's the last that we'll see of him. I really don't. I could see him going to another franchise and continuing his success. But yeah, that's kind of where I stand on it.
Gotcha, man. I feel the same. He's not a coach I feel like is going to get into a Mount Rushmore unless maybe he pulls off a 3rd title, whether it's in Indiana or with another franchise. Because when you think of like Mount Rushmore coach, you think of your Phil Jacksons, you think of your Pat Rileys of kind of more modern NBA, and then you got who's the Celtics coach?
Doc. Oh, Red Auerbach.
Red,
Yeah.
guys of that nature. So I'm with you. I think he is severely underrated. But I'm also with you. I don't think he's done winning at a high clip, and I think he has more, especially because the Eastern Conference is so wide open. At least next year, it looks like it's going to be that way. And we'll get to some of the trades that just went down in the past week or so. But another question I want to throw your way. I've seen it pretty heavily discussed kind of throughout the whole playoff, but really in this series and even last series. Do you consider Tyrese Halliburton to be a superstar?
Yeah, absolutely. I would.
All right, so what do you consider a superstar versus just being a star?
I would say absolutely like a superstar. Like you got to be one of, I would say, top like 5 in your positional category.
Okay.
And then on top of that, winning. winning plays into it, and you look at kind of what he has done. I'll put it to you like this. Okay, do I think he's a superstar? I may have misspoke. Do I think he's a superstar? Maybe not. Do I think he has superstar potential? And if Tyrese Halliburton was with the Lakers, he's a superstar. Like that's how I look at it. Like he's on a smaller market team. A lot of people, don't even know his career path. Like, so I think it's a lot of it plays into it as being on a smaller market team. He's not going to get as much recognition as he might deserve. I mean, if he was on the Knicks, he'd be a superstar. If he was on the Celtics, he'd be a superstar. Like we would categorize him as a superstar on a large market team.
All right,
Tell me if you disagree.
So I disagree because my standard for a superstar is simply what you described is a star.
Okay.
What I think superstar in any sport is, am I taking my hard-earned money when they come into my town, and am I paying to see them play live? Or would I pay to see them play live?
Okay, but now, would you do that if he was on the Lakers? You'd see a lot more of his games, on TV.
Like the Lakers are coming, like when the Lakers come in town, more times than not, they have a star attached to them outside of a few, maybe 4 or 5 outlier years in the last 5 years. So it's like a couple of like when the Yankees come in town, whether Judge is on the team or not, like you're going to see the when the Cowboys are coming, there's a few brands, but I think like KD with wherever OKC went with KD and even before Harden left with KD and Russ, you were paying your money to see OKC live.
Okay.
Giannis plays for a small team. When Giannis came a couple years ago to the Grizzlies, and I got a chance to see him play live, I was going to see Giannis play live. Dallas isn't really they're like a mid-tier market team. I think they're a great franchise, but they're still not there's not Mavericks fans in every state you go to. But when Luka is playing in Memphis, I'm trying to get tickets to those games. So that's what I consider, like, again, even if Judge for some reason got traded to the Chicago White Sox, if Judge is still Judge, is like, if he's coming or if he has a AAA rehab stint, and I'm doing everything I can to go see Judge play. So that's kind of my barometer of what a superstar is like, will I try to do everything I can to see them play the one time they come to my city?
Okay. Let me ask you a question, because I've seen some Twitter beefs on it. Are you taking Jalen Brunson or are you taking Tyrese Halliburton?
I would prefer the way I like to see basketball and the way I appreciate basketball, I'd rather have Tyrese Halliburton.
Okay.
I don't believe, history has showed us it's never happened. But I don't believe until somebody does it that you could be a heliocentric guard and win a championship.
Yes.
And to me, the only difference between Brunson and Luka is their height.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, for me, I agree with you on that.
And Harden too. Harden goes in that category too.
Okay, and I agree with you on that. And the reason for me is, and it's kind of the same thing you're saying, but to put it into kind of like layman's terms, Tyrese Halliburton makes everybody on the floor better. When he's out there, he makes everybody on the floor better. Jalen Brunson does not, in my opinion, my personal opinion. He doesn't make the other 4 guys better on the floor. But okay, yeah, I mean, and like I said, maybe I misspoke. I firmly believe that if he was on, I'm trying to think of like that middle tier team. Like, I think if he was on like even if he was on like a Memphis, like I think he might. Like, I think you would maybe categorize him as a superstar. I just think.
So that's where like Ja Morant 2001 to 2023 before he got in trouble, before he got hurt. No matter where Ja was playing, Ja had people coming to see him play. Mm-hmm. Whether it was Sacramento or Atlanta or Charlotte or whatever. So and that's why, and then Ja was getting the Grizzlies all those national marketed games before he got in trouble and got hurt. And that's why I would consider like Ja, even with his struggles from the last 2 years, he's still considered, like, if Ja comes back and plays how he did a couple years ago next year, he's going to go right back to being top 3, top 5, talked about jersey selling guys in the league. Whether he's like a top 3, 5 NBA player, which I don't think he is, and he might not ever be, he's still that kind of superstar draw.
Well, in his superstardom, I mean, let's be real, it started at Murray State.
Yeah.
I mean, it absolutely started at Murray State in March Madness. I mean, but yeah. I can see your side. I personally, I'll just say this, and this will kind of be like my final comment on it. There is the superstar potential there. For some reason, there's just a lot of league hate for Halliburton. But think back to Reggie Miller, dude. People hated Reggie Miller.
Yeah. And
So I
they're
mean,
both the like similar level of corny. They're both
yeah,
light skinned.
yeah.
They both hit clutch shots. So, but yeah, and again, like I like Halliburton. I would take Halliburton even before this season because to me he jumped on the radar when they made that in-season championship run last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I first started noticing him, and he made again. He's like, I mean, a top 20 guy in the NBA. He made the Olympic team.
Yeah.
And I know like the standards for like how you pick an Olympic team and matching certain guys up. And it's not always the best players in the NBA, but and he
Mm-hmm.
didn't play a whole lot, but neither did Tatum. But that still doesn't take away from how good they are on a regular standard NBA team and how the
Oh
team
yeah,
builds around them. I think
yeah.
if you put Halliburton, you could put in the way Halliburton plays offense and he's an average defensive player, but you could literally take Halliburton and put him on 20 of the other 30 teams or 32 teams, and he would be just as effective
Mm-hmm.
and impact winning just as much.
Oh
Whereas
yeah.
Brunson, if you drop Brunson, I get you have to build a roster around it. But if you put Brunson in Charlotte or Atlanta right now and did a 1-for-1 trade, he would maybe get you 7 to 8 more wins. Where I think Halliburton could get you 10 to 12 more wins over
Mm-hmm.
India.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All
But yeah.
right. Sorry, let's push on. We'll start with the further away trade and get to the breaking news from today. And I won't get into all the particulars of the trade, but the noteworthiness is the Memphis Grizzlies. It's weird that two small teams and two of my favorite small teams made a trade, but Desmond Bane traded to Orlando Magic for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, and 4 first-round draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people thought that was an overpay, and I agree with that. But before I give my particulars, how do you feel about the trade? Do you think there's a winner and a loser of this trade? And like, what is your big takeaway from the trade?
Yeah, so I am kind of in the general consensus that I do feel like your Magic gave up a little too much. I think they maybe could have pulled it out for maybe keeping like one more pick in their pocket. I think that. But at the end of the day, I think it's one of those trades where I don't think sitting here today I can say that the Grizzlies are better or the Magic are better. It's one of those trades that time is going to tell. At the All-Star break, I think we'll kind of see where the Magic are, and as well as, for all those first-round picks, where the Grizzlies going to be. Because there's some really good talent coming up right now that are in the college game, not only this year, but, next year and the following year. There's some high school kids out there that are going crazy. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see the long-term effects of a trade like that. Desmond Bane could come down there and be that floor stretcher that you guys have been looking for. He could go down there and absolutely suck. There's just no telling. I don't think he's going to suck. I think Desmond Bane is better than what a lot of people give credit for. I think a lot of people shit on him because he's just got a weird, like, non-NBA body type. He looks like he should maybe be like a running back in the NFL.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say at this point, I don't think there's a winner and a loser. I'll call it a draw. But yeah, I'm curious because like you said, you follow these teams both heavily. Give me your take. How do you feel about it? Are you happy about it? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
So I'll give the Grizzly side first because that's kind of like my adopted team, and I adopted the team before I even moved to Tennessee when I was still living in Florida back in the Tony Allen, Zebo, Pau Gasol days before they traded for Mark Gasol.
Yeah.
And when they had Mike Miller. But anywho, on the Grizzlies side, I think, one, the Grizzlies still don't have a coach, so they got to find a coach. Two, one of those three was going to go this offseason. A lot of people thought it was going to be, and a lot of people wanted it to be Ja. They wanted to see Ja in a new city, give him kind of a career reset, get him out of the Memphis bubble to try to get him out of his antics and give him a new place to reinvigorate his career. And then, oddly enough, I think 2 days before the trade happened, Ja put out a tweet that he's not going anywhere. He's Mr. 901. He loves it there. The city loves him. So he isn't going anywhere. So what this tells me is that they're going to build the team around Ja, and they were going to build it around 2 out of those 3. It was just a matter of like who was going to go. And I know they really like JJJ as well. And JJJ is the weird one out of that three, is that as good of an NBA player as he is, and he's been an all-star, and he's like a perennial defensive player of the year, he sucks at rebounding. You can't you can't be a defensive player of the year type guy and average like 4.8 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are rookie numbers. You got to get those up. Matthew McConaughey would say. But the Grizzlies getting all of these first round draft picks tells me they are resetting their timeline to peak again, because the Grizzlies were peaking like 2 and 3 years ago.
Oh yeah, before Ja got hurt. Yeah.
They were pushing 2 or 3 years ago. So they're telling me they're putting on a soft reset to make another like 2 to 3 year run while they still have Ja and Jaren under contract for, I believe, another 3 years each, to get this done before their contracts are up. Then at that time, depending on how things go, who knows which one of those may stay or go. On the Magic side, this was 100% win. It wasn't overpay, but it was a necessary overpay, because the Magic look at this kind of like LeBron and the Lakers. The Magic know if Paolo Banchero doesn't miss 30 games from an oblique, he is a third-year player getting a first-team All-NBA bid this year. Because the numbers he put up were the numbers he put up. In fact, when he went out, the Magic were second in the East, and they held third in the East for a while until Franz ended up going out. So that's just where the Magic were when they had Paolo, Franz, and Jalen Suggs healthy this year. I think another reason why they gave up the loot that they did is because they wanted to keep Anthony Black, who is a 6'7" point guard. He's kind of a hybrid guard, but a 6'7" point guard in his second year, who looks like he can be a six man of the year type guy, to be the first kind of guy off the bench. He looks a lot like what Jalen Williams is for OKC Thunder. So when you're the Magic and you believe you have a guy that's going into his fourth year that's going to be a first-team All-NBA guy, who's going to be a top 5-6 NBA player in the league kind of guy, it's like, let's go after it now, because if we're in the Eastern Conference Finals 2 out of the 4 next years, those draft picks aren't going to matter because they're not going to get on the floor. You look at like how many rookies have gotten on the floor for the Celtics the last 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, it's rare.
Yeah, how many for the Los Angeles Lakers? How many rookies? They drafted Dalton Connect, and the guy comes in and lights up threes, and he can't get on the floor. He's in, trade talks all off season. The Clippers rookies can't get on the floor. So when you look at a lot of the teams, I mean, how many rookies did the Pacers play, and they play like 10, 11 guys on the floor every night? Same thing with OKC. OKC used all their picks from 3 to 5 years ago, and all those guys are all on the same timeline now. So I think that's how the Magic see themselves, and that's why they were willing to give up those picks to acquire Desmond Bane, who's been a top 4. When you just look at all the metrics, he's been a top 4 NBA three-point shooter last 3 out of 4 years consistently, and that's the Magic have been dead last in attempted threes and made threes for 3 years running now.
Yeah. Yeah, so and it's a copycat league. I mean, people saw the Celtics' success with it. I mean, every league's a copycat league, but they saw the Celtics' success, and that's what they're trying to run off of. So yeah, no, I mean, I see what you're saying. I think time's going to tell. I think that's going to be the interesting thing. I would love to see a healthy Paulo and see what him and Franz and Bain can do down there in Orlando, and see if they can get the first chip for the Magic.
For sure. And then we had another blockbuster trade. I don't know if Kevin Durant is quite blockbuster anymore, but maybe it is still blockbuster. But Kevin Durant getting traded to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, the hyper-athletic guard for the Houston Rockets. A little inconsistent on the offensive side with the shooting, but still crazy athletic. For Dylan Brooks, the nemesis for every team in the NBA and in international play and in Euroball. And then a first-round draft pick in the 2025 slot, and then 5 second-round draft picks. And obviously with Phoenix, they've given up like all of their picks to 2030. So them starting to get to be able to recoup some of their picks back from this experiment with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal that couldn't even make the play-in this year, which is just crazy to think about, is probably a win for Phoenix. And just getting rid of an older Kevin Durant who could still give you 25 points per game in a very efficient manner. where are you at with this trade? I know you're just kind of finding it out, but what's your first reaction to this trade, and what do you think it could be?
I think it could be good. I think it's another scoring option for Houston, which I think we saw that they kind of needed this year in the playoffs. Phoenix, I don't know how I feel about it for Phoenix. I'm kind of like up in the air. Like as good as Devin Booker is, it's just like why can't you win? And maybe he's just not a winner. I don't know. The thing for the Rockets that it kind of brings out to me, and I had to do a double check on their roster to make sure I was correct on saying this. That means that they're putting a lot of stock in Fred VanVleet and last year's draft pick Reed Shepard
Yeah.
to
Oh,
be
and
the
they love Amin Thompson too.
yeah, Amon Thompson, yeah. But you're talking about primary ball handlers. Is Thompson going to be your primary ball handler? That's what I'm saying
Yeah.
is like you're putting a lot of stock in that, which I like Fred VanVleet, don't get me wrong. And I do like Reed Shepard, Kentucky guy. So I'm really curious to see how it shakes out for them. I'll be honest, I didn't see Durant when the talks first started, I saw him with the Rockets. I thought it would be a good fit, but I didn't see it coming down to the Rockets as we progressed. I really thought it was going to be San Antonio, if you want me to be honest with you.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. I was definitely leaning more towards San Antonio. So somebody posted up what the current players Phoenix has on their roster. It's all guards. They don't have any forwards or centers currently on their roster. And obviously that will change with free agents in the draft. But
Yeah.
that's gnarly to think about that, like currently speaking in your offseason, you have no forwards or centers on your team whatsoever.
They still got Alfred, don't they? Sengun?
No, Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm tripping.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so you mentioned Devin Booker. So he's a guy that in year 3 he made it to the finals with Chris Paul. And so it's like we've seen him have enough to make a deep playoff run, but he's not made it anywhere close since. And so I think he can still be that guy, but their roster was much more significant when they made that finals run than what it was with having the big 3 stars that they have. But my second thing is I saw a tweet in a news blurb that Phoenix this season or after next season could offer Devin Booker a 3-year extension that will push his deal for him to be paid like $380 million by 2029, which is just like crazy to think about. Because by the time he reaches that contract, he will have made I think he will have made $500 million by that standpoint, which is just crazy to think about. For a guy who's like a small shooting guard who did make a good playoff run, but if you take away that 1 year, it's like, what does his postseason career look like?
Yeah, not even that. But how many All NBAs has he had?
I know he's had no first team All NBAs.
Yeah.
I
So
think
it's like,
I think he has one second team and one third team.
yeah,
So it's like,
yeah. No,
yeah.
I agree.
And I like D Book, but they love him in Phoenix, and I know he loves being in Phoenix. So it's kind of like one of the things like we're gonna pay somebody. We want to pay a good character guy who's great for the city, and I get that with Phoenix. But it's like I'm at this point, I'm kind of out on Phoenix for a while, and it will be interesting to see what Houston looks like with Şengün, Durant, Shepard, VanVleet, and Thompson on their roster.
Yeah.
If I had to guess right now, their success isn't any better coming out of the West than it is this year. I think this was a lateral move for them.
Yeah, especially giving up Jalen Green. If they could have kept Jalen Green, I think it would have been a little bit better. I think we'd be thinking they were going to be a little bit better, but yeah. I see, if you want me to be honest with you, going back to your Devin Booker talk, I really see, and I don't know, this is my hot take. He doesn't stay in Phoenix. They trade him to a contender, and they try to rebuild.
I like that. I like that take. I mean, basically where they're at right now is like you didn't make the playoffs with him, and he's in his prime. So I mean, why not? Because like you said, for Devin, the one thing I saw is like basically nobody wants Bradley Beal, and you can't make that trade and make it work. So Devin Booker would have to be the guy that they give up to go to a contender and get 3-4 first round draft picks and whatever else for him.
Yeah.
I like that take. I like that take. Oh, one more thing about the NBA, and we'll push on to baseball. Did you see the rumor about NBA alignment after? Because it's rumored, I think, after the finals that they might be announcing expanding 2 more teams into the NBA, and if they did that, that there would be a realignment.
I did not see that. I did not
So
see that.
it's rumored that Vegas will be getting a team, which has
Okay.
been on the board. Which again, that goes back to that Dallas Mavericks thing. Does the Dallas Mavericks move to Vegas, or do they just add a team there?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's rumored that Seattle, which we've been hearing this for years, that Seattle will be back in the mix to have a team back there. And if they have a team back in Seattle, they would realign where Memphis would move back. Well, Memphis would move back over to the east, or not back over. They would move over to the east, and you would just add both expansion teams into the west.
Okay. I like it. I like it. I can see it happening. Oh, my cam turned off. I can see it happening for sure. I could definitely see it. I'm a fan of taking a team back to Seattle personally. I like that. The other one I'm a fan of is Vancouver.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would like
I
to see
like
that as well.
Vancouver.
Yeah, I don't think Vancouver is going to win out just because the money, just like I heard somebody say, like the money in the Pacific Northwest is just unreal with like Microsoft and all the tech companies, and now Vegas having all these renovations and Vegas being a place where a lot of people in California have moved and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people in Oregon have moved. So I just think if the NBA can only expand the 2 teams, that Vancouver would be an odd city out in that
Yeah.
scenario over those 2 teams.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think it'd be sick to have a Vancouver team back in the mix too, and just make the West even more crazier than what it is. But man, let's push on to baseball. We'll start off in the college ranks. That's basically no longer an amateur sport anymore. Won a College World Series today, 5-3. Crazy scenario. The head coach and the first base coach both got tossed from Coastal Carolina in the bottom of the first inning over arguing balls and strikes, which is always a losing argument. But you got to stick up for your team. But man, what is your take overall on LSU's run? I believe you gave me a stat. You gave me that stat again about something about they're undefeated or whatever.
Yeah, no, first undefeated Omaha run since 2013. They won their second one, I think 8th overall, second in 3 years. So it's been a great year for Louisiana baseball. I know you're familiar, a lot of our listeners might not be with the NAIA game, but LSU Shreveport, don't know if you heard about their season that they had in the NAIA world, but a completely undefeated season.
Yeah.
I forget like what the final was, but I know like a regular college season is 55 games. They essentially went 55-0, and probably, if I had to guess, like 60-0.
Yeah.
Which is, granted, like I know people try to shit on NAIA baseball. Me and you, who are familiar with it both, know that there are
Yeah.
some absolute demons.
Yeah.
But to go 55-0 at any level,
Yeah.
D1, D2, D3, NAIA, junior college, whatever it is, that's very impressive. But LSU, man, it was a good run for them. I'll be honest with you, I really, after watching like the first round of games, I really thought Coastal Carolina was going to run away with it. They were just mowing people down. They were hot at the right time. And then LSU, I think the turning point for LSU was pulling out the game against Arkansas on, I believe that was Thursday night. Was that Thursday night?
Wednesday or Thursday, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
'cause
that
I
was
thought
a
in Jamaica. Yeah.
yeah, it was a crazy game. I mean, back and forth, and then LSU's Messiah and Jared Jones gets a little looper, and the kid jumps a little too early, and it was that was a crazy game. But congratulations to LSU, man. Of course, I love seeing an SEC school win it. I love seeing the SEC dominate. I thought that the bracketing was kind of, I don't know. I always, like the conspiracy theorist in me, I always think like when like SEC teams and ACC teams get matched up, I'm like, oh, they're doing this shit on purpose. Like they don't want them to win it. Like they don't want them in the final. But nah, man, it was good. It was good to see them. Congratulations. Yeah, Omaha was good this year, man. I really enjoyed Omaha and watching Omaha. Had a no-hitter, had a complete game. It was good. I liked it.
Stand on the college front real quick, and I know we didn't go down in the pre-podcast rundown, but I know you remember me talking about the pitcher G from Texas Tech and her $1 million NIL deal. Well, did you see the news coming out of Texas Tech? I think it was Wednesday. It was posted. So Texas Tech basically just pulled a Dodgers in college softball.
Okay.
They just, outside of Najee, who was by far the best pitcher in college, they got 6 All-Americans from this year to transfer to Texas Tech.
Okay. Go ahead, Texas Tech.
including the daughter of NBA legend Jason Williams. You know, his daughter, Mia Williams, plays at
Yeah.
University of Florida. She's an absolute stud.
Yeah.
My dad's a huge Gator fan. And he's locked into all the back page Gator news. And he was like, he heard that Jason kind of stays out of it, but mom was not happy that she didn't get a chance to play shortstop either year she was at Florida. Florida basically brings in like a top five shortstop in the country every year, and then one wins out and everybody else gets pushed to third or second. But still, she was an All American second baseman. But anyway, it was like mom wasn't happy, so they were like, "Hey, let's go to Texas Tech and let's go play shortstop there." But it was like they just also brought in another All-American shortstop to Texas Tech. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but I think they're just crazy to see in the college world that you now have 7 current active All-Americans all on one roster, and it's like if there was a, and maybe there is, but it's like I would put money down. I would put $500 on Texas Tech right now to win a College World Series if they just stay marginally healthy.
Oh yeah,
That's
absolutely.
just gnarly to think about how much money is in softball, let alone all the other sports. But of course, that is a Texas school there. Maybe Patrick Mahomes, since he's a Texas Tech alumni, is like throwing in some extra money, being that he's making like $90 million a year.
I knew it was coming. I knew we can't go a podcast without Patrick Mahomes coming up, ladies and gentlemen. If you
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
caught on yet, my man is a fan.
yeah.
I'm really glad you actually didn't do the podcast last Sunday when you were in Jamaica, a couple drinks deep. We would have really got your love affair for Mahomes. Everybody would have seen it firsthand.
All right, and we'll start getting some football stuff back probably after July 4th because that's
Yeah.
when we'll start getting close to like mandatory or not mandatory, but OTA should be starting back then. But anywho, let's push on to MLB baseball and a big trade that happened. How long ago was that trade with Devers? A week
Man,
and a half?
that was about a week ago.
Yeah,
About a week ago, because they're playing against each other right now.
yeah. So we had Rafael Devers, who had a lot of controversy going back to the initial trade, or was it trade or free agent move to bring
It
in?
was signing. It was a
Yeah,
signing. They
signing, yeah.
signed Bregman.
The sign Bregman in the offseason, and I'll just give a little bit of rundown of the timeline, and you can fill in the dots where need be. I'll let you run this story. But going back, they bring in Bregman, who is a Gold Glove, multi-Gold Glove winning third base, to bring in a much-needed need where Rafael Devers, great offensive prospect, I guess not a prospect, just producer, but probably one of the biggest liabilities. I mean, it's just when you lead the league multiple years in the infield at any spot in the infield in errors, that's just kind of brutal no matter what team, what roster, what era you're playing in.
Yeah.
Even in a big fly era that we may or may not be in, and guys don't play as much small ball, just having a huge hole like that at third base is just a huge crutch to the team. And so we have that, and then we have the awkward interviews with Devers in the offseason. Then we get to spring ball, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm still the third baseman," and the Boston is like, "No, you're not." And then they were like, "We want you to move to first base. You to help our team." And Devers like, "I'm not moving to first base," and you just have all this back and forth, and he's just been a cancer. We've covered this back earlier in the season, but they're playing now. He's actually gotten off to somewhat of a hot start in San Francisco. It's kind of like that new city juice that a lot of players get when they get traded or just move to a new team in free agency. But man, you being a Boston fan, how do you feel about this trade? Is there a winner? Is there a loser? What are your personal feelings about it? You go ahead.
Yeah, no, man. I think both teams are a winner in different aspects. I think it's hard to put it into like for an average listener or somebody that's not really familiar with sports. It's almost like if you're married and you have your wife and she does the cleaning, right? She sweeps the floors, and then you bring home a Roomba. Right. And now she's like, well, I guess I don't have to clean anymore. Or, I still want to clean. She says she still wants to clean. And you're like, no, like, babe, the Roomba can do it. And now she's up in arms. But then you're like, hey, but you can do the dishes. And she's like, well, I can't clean. I ain't doing the damn dishes either. Like, it's one of those situations where it felt very like feminine. And it's like, dude, like, what are you doing? I'm glad to see him go. Like, I hate to see him go, but I'm glad to see him go. Good riddance. Like, you don't want to be a team guy. You don't want to be a cornerstone for this franchise. Like, you're already a World Series champion, and you don't want to stay in this city that has poured into you. And like you said, I mean, a fan favorite. I mean, I don't know, man. It's almost one of those things. I think the thing that bothers me the most, this is what bothers me the most, is you are supposed to be a professional. Correct? At that level, you're supposed to be a professional. They bring in somebody else. You act like a child about it. Then you say, oh, well, they just want me to DH, so I'm just going to be a DH. I put away my glove. No, bitch, you're a professional. Go grab your glove and go make the money. Like, we're paying you to be a part of this team. Go be a part of this team. And then you get traded and you go tell Buster Posey, I'll play whatever position you need me to play. Do what? Like, if you wanted out of Boston, you should have just said you wanted out of Boston, man. Like, that's fine. Like, we would have traded you. Like, Breslow would have had no problem trading you. I know Breslow's under a lot of heat for it. I know a lot of people aren't happy as far as a fan is concerned, but as a fan, you also have to look at what is this guy's not helping the current situation. Like, Costas goes down, which I think we need to trade him, but that's a story for another time. But we're struggling with injuries, and you're not stepping up and being a leader and taking the team and saying, hey, I can do this for us. I would like to help. But then you're going to go somewhere else and you're going to say, yeah, I can do whatever. It doesn't sit well with me as a competitor. It doesn't sit well with me putting my coaching hat on. I don't agree with it. Even as a player, I don't agree with it. I mean, backstory on me, I caught my whole life. I won a gold glove my junior year. We had some injuries my senior year. Coach comes to me and goes, hey, man, can you go play first base? I made that move. It was going to make our team better. Was I happy about it? No, I wanted to catch. That's what I did. But it made our team better, and you suck it up. And I wasn't making millions of dollars to do it. I just wanted to play the game. So there's a lot of controversy, man. Hawks are better off without him. I think the clubhouse, the atmosphere is going to be better with Durant and Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell and Marcelo Meyer. Like, I think we're building for the future. I think we're a couple years out. I think we're a couple arms away from being really, really good. So that's kind of where I stand on it, man. I would love to know your take. You're not a Red Sox fan or a Giants fan, so give me your kind of thoughts on the whole situation.
Well, I'm like you because like I look at this since I'm not a fan. I don't look at it from that perspective at all. And but I do look at it from like a player perspective because I'm like you. I was an outfielder all high school, all college, and then when I transferred to Union, about halfway. Well, actually during Christmas break, my coach asked me if I could start taking reps at first base, and it was because our starting first baseman, who was a senior that year, he also pitched, and he pitched every weekend. He was probably our second best pitcher. So it was basically to fill in at first base because the two freshmen that we had just weren't going to be ready to fill the hole. And, we were a winning program. It was like, hey, B, if you could play first base 1 to 2 days per week and play left or right field the other 2 days, that would help our team. I was like, not a problem for me because as long as I'm hitting third or fourth in the middle of the lineup, whatever, doesn't matter to me. But even if I wasn't hitting that there in the lineup, like I would have done it. So I just can't imagine how in that locker room, how those guys have had to deal with. And again, all those guys are professionals, so they still show up to produce on the field, get their paycheck just like all the rest of the guys do. But still, you're a brotherhood, you're a fraternity, you're all trying to be in the same boat, going the same direction. And he's sitting there literally not paddling and everybody else is. And then like anytime you're on the ship and somebody else is not paddling and putting in the work like how you are, it's going to negatively impact everything from like the bottom up. So from the team into the front or management into the front office, all the way up to the owner. And I'm sure that's why they made the trade.
Uh-huh.
So like from a player perspective, I would be, even if our team got a little bit worse in the short term, I would be supportive of it just to get that guy out of the locker room that wasn't wanting to be in the same boat, paddling the same way we are. But I am like you. I think it was a win-win situation for both teams. The Giants get much needed help. The Boston kind of clear space and make more room for the future and build for the future and get a cancer out of the locker room. And that's the way the trade splits sometimes in sports.
Yeah, no, and dude, like, I'm a Red Sox fan, and like when I'm not seeing, guys go to new teams and they, get traded, and the team comes to town and it's hugs in center field. You weren't seeing a lot of that. You weren't seeing a lot of posts about that, and it's just like the locker room was in a bad situation. Call a spade a spade. We're not in it, but if we had to guess, the locker room was in a bad situation. And David Ortiz, like you said, I've seen some of his comments. You told me one earlier. It wasn't a good look. I do think we're going to be better off as Red Sox, I think we're going to be better off. So we'll see how it plays out in the long term. I wish him nothing but the best. And, San Francisco, and I hope he has a long career there and hits a lot into McCovey Cove. Other than that, I could give two shits.
Yeah. All right, brother. Let's close out with a little lighter note and just talk about Caitlin Clark because we everybody covers Caitlin Clark and they cover her in her own way in the WNBA. But I actually saw a new Nike ad and I posted in my story today where Caitlin Clark is standing on like a little like mini Viking boat, but the kid had the caption "A rising tide." Was it "A rising tide lifts all boats" or whatever? And that Caitlin Clark is the WNBA's like savant. She is Tiger Woods to the PGA Tour in the late 90s, early 2000s. She's Serena Williams and even Venus Williams to a certain extent to women's tennis in the mid to late 90s into the early 2000s. She is Wayne Gretzky to hockey in the 80s. Baseball doesn't really have that guy there because baseball has been great for so long. Football
She's the steroid era of baseball.
yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. And she's kind of what Michael Jordan was for the NBA. Yes, the NBA had plenty of stars and had Magic and Bird, but the NBA didn't become quite what it was from a marketing and financial standpoint until Michael Jordan took the reins in the 90s. And Caitlin Clark, point blank period, she's a top producer. She's a top talent in the WNBA. She's winning at a high clip. Their team is, even with her injury, her team is going to be poised to make a good playoff run this year. But most importantly, she's bringing better visibility. She's bringing more financial gain for everybody in the sport, from the top to the bottom to the top. And it's weird that it seems like out of all the sports and there's always a little resistance to somebody who's so great that they transcend everything in your sport, and it's like, dude, he's really not that good. And it's like, no, dude, he's really that good. And even like Shohei, I'm not like, I don't love Shohei as much as other people do, but I still acknowledge the superstardom that he brings to the sport, and he is box office. No matter he's box office in Chicago, and they're having an all-time record-setting losing season this year. Wherever Shohei goes, it's primetime baseball, no matter what day of the week it is. And Aaron Judge, to a certain extent, is that same way, and Bobby Witt may be that someday for the Kansas City Royals. And more likely that's going to be Jack Caglianone. But that's neither here nor there. Caitlin Clark, I think, is great for the WNBA. And if the WNBA is ever going to be profitable, which they're still struggling to be, it's going to be simply because of Caitlin Clark and no other reason for the foreseeable future. What's your take?
Dude, no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think it's wild. It's all coming to fruition. I mean, you've seen it if you watch any ESPN, but you see a lot of people talking about the little skirmish that happened earlier this week, or maybe it was over the weekend, last weekend, but whatever, regardless. You see the foul on her that she gets hit in the face. I didn't play competitive basketball. You play pickup, whatever. All I know is that at no point in time has Caitlin Clark ever dribbled the ball by her face, and you see that girl just clearly lunge out with both hands towards like the head area. It's like, why? Like, I don't understand why there's so much resistance. If I was a woman, or if I had a daughter that was fortunate enough to play in the NBA, I would be encouraging her to be like, dude, like, ride this wave. Like, it's a great wave. Like, embrace it. Like, this is awesome. And you're seeing so much pushback. And you brought up a good point the last time, but she's a straight white female. It doesn't fit the WNBA mold. And so it's just one of those things where I don't understand why there's so much pushback, but at some point the WNBA has to wake up and understand that, like, this is their messiah. Like, this is the person that's going to take them to the promised land of where they want to be. They'll never be the NBA, but it's going to take them damn near close. That's just kind of my take on it. I think you hit the nail on the head with all the comparisons. She is amazing in her own right. Like, the threes that she hit, she just, like, she heaves it, and you're just like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, she's banging home shit. And just ice in the veins. I mean, she's good. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. So that's just kind of where I stand, man. I wish the WNBA would embrace her like, the sports fans have. because you see it. I mean, she's in Nike, she's in Gatorade. I mean, she has all these damn brand deals, and it's just like, why can the WNBA as a players collective not embrace her?
And funny enough, I remember, I don't know if you were old enough, and I've seen clips over the last decade just to remind, but I remember when LeBron James was coming into the NBA and then when he actually made the NBA. But
Hmm.
if y'all want, you could just YouTube the clip of NBA players talking shit about LeBron James after he was drafted, and it was Carlos Boozer and Tyus Thompson, like all these guys, like talk like LeBron's not going to be that good. He's not going to be the best player in the NBA. He's not a savior. He's not going to do this. He's not going to do. And LeBron James just from day one, just boom. And it's like even if you're not a LeBron James fan, like LeBron James, his rookie year and really his first couple years got a lot of pushback from NBA players, kind of like how Diana Taurasi did to Caitlin Clark. And all of those guys obviously ended up being egregiously wrong. And the only props I'll give to Diana Taurasi is that I want to say like 2 months ago, right before the WNBA season started, she did come out and say she was wrong on Caitlin Clark and
Hmm.
kind of like gave her props to be like, my bad, dude. I was sipping on the haterade. I was jumping on like the Connecticut train and egging on, but like she is legit and she's great for the WNBA.
Oh yeah.
So I'm interested to see where Caitlyn can take the WNBA because I personally watch more games and more highlights because of her.
Hmm.
But again, it's just like golf. Like golf was a very niche, rich man's hobby, and it still is a rich man's hobby to a certain extent, but it was very niche, boys club. Like if Tiger Woods doesn't come into golf how it is, there would be a third of the or 2/3 or 3/4 of the casuals that play the sport now.
Oh
Before
yeah.
before Tiger Woods was in the fold, guys didn't just casually play golf. It was like you started playing golf when you were in elementary and middle school and you worked at it. And guys outside of that just weren't going to play golf a couple times a week at their local country club, having some drinks and playing scrambles and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And Tiger Woods completely changed that for golf, and that is what, to a certain extent, what Caitlin Clark can do for the WNBA, and good for her for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One more thing, and then we'll get out of here. Another little footnote to women's sports. I'm trying to be fair here and just fill in some space. I also saw, been a couple weeks ago now, but the Athletes Unlimited League, which is the women's professional softball league,
Hmm.
they, I guess, more MLB. So the MLB has now partnered with the Athletes Unlimited League to be basically their proprietary supporter, how the NBA supplements the WNBA. So
Hmm.
now Major League Baseball is going to start supplementing the Athletes Unlimited League. They expanded to two more teams, and I think players got like a 30% pay raise going because they played during the summer going into this summer, and like they'll get a revenue boost and a player boost for like the next 3 to 4 years consistently with the MLB. And obviously their season runs congruently with the MLB season, unlike the WNBA, who's runs their season kind of in the off season, or at least during the playoff run into the off season with the NBA. The NBA doesn't take all their shine. I think it's going to be great for women's professional softball that they're going to get cross promotion with the MLB and get these women because there's a lot of phenomenal. There's I don't want to say that, but there's a lot of phenomenal softball players who I don't take the term deserve because I don't think anybody in sports ever deserves to make money playing their sport. But it's great that these women are getting the opportunity because a lot of times with women at the end of their softball career, it's like go coach softball, go do lessons, or go into professional or some other profession. And
Hmm.
now these women for, 4 to 6 years can go play the game at a super high level, make a good living. I think the league is only like in the state of Florida. So I
Okay.
think they're trying to expand to like other states. So it's like you get to live in Florida year round and play professional softball and make more money doing that and not have to go coach in a academic setting, which is not for everybody, or even a travel ball setting. So I think that's awesome and good on Rob Manfred and MLB for accomplishing that for women in their sports.
Yeah, dude, and I'll be honest with you, just a kind of thing that popped into my head. If I was a commissioner of like the WNBA or the Athletes Unlimited, what is it? The AUSL, is that what they like the
Yeah,
acronym is for it?
yeah,
Yeah, they got to come up with a new name. But
yeah.
anyway, because that's too fucking long in my opinion. It's too long. But anyway, if I was a commissioner, I would be taking these teams and I would be going to different parts of the world. Like I would go down to Brazil with the softball. I would go to Mexico. I would go to Spain. Like I would go everywhere and just try to promote it. Like, hey, listen, we're gonna do a series here. Like you two teams, sorry about it. But at the same time, like if you're an athlete and you're getting paid, to play your sport and you get a chance to take a all expenses paid vacation to Spain or to Brazil or wherever it might be, you're gonna say no. Like you'd be like, yeah, all right, coach, I'll go wherever you tell me to. Like even the WNBA, like same thing. Like go to Argentina, go to these different places and promote and bring a younger generation into the fold, because there might be a girl that's in Brazil right now that wants to play softball, but she's like, oh, I don't know if it's any good. And then she sees, Athletes Unlimited, and she's like, oh my God, like this is what I want to do, and I want to do it in college, whatever it might be. And it grows and it just expands and all that. So, I mean, I think it's awesome. I think it's great. I think we're kind of coming into a new wave. So we'll see how it goes.
No, man, I agree with you, and I think that even as a precursor to that idea, especially for softball, like take a model of what the Savannah Bananas do,
Uh-huh.
and like maybe not like don't, but maybe every season maybe pick 5 states to travel to during those seasons, just play neutral site games.
Uh-huh.
Like you're all playing in Florida anyway, so you're not really having home field advantage.
Yeah.
Of course, there's like I play summer baseball in Florida and in the Carolinas, and I'm sure you play summer ball. Like, yeah, there are good hometown teams to play for, but it all still feels kind of neutral site because you
Hmm.
don't even in summer ball you don't even get enough time to even get to really know and embrace a lot of the fandom there. But like pick 4 cities and play at college stadiums because they're not being used during the summer anyway.
Uh-uh.
So, you're playing in Florida, or again, if the league's in Florida, pick Georgia, South Carolina, and East Tennessee to play in. And go play at University of Georgia, go play at University of South Carolina, go play at UT Knox, and go play at these college stadiums that aren't being utilized anyway.
Yeah.
College programs get a boost in recruitment. The teams get more exposure, and the women get more exposure. And maybe a way to implement the way that MLB can supplement is just like helping out with travel. Like, yeah, we're not putting y'all on private planes, but we can put you on charter planes and ship all your equipment, overnight to be able to play these games and do these little travel exhibitions to be able to expand the sport. So I do love that. I agree, and I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, yeah, I mean, we'll see where it goes. We'll see where the MLB goes with it, and see how it grows in the future.
All right, brother. Well, that was a great podcast. Like I say, we're almost in the dog days of the summer.
Oh
But
yeah.
I'm great. We still knocked it out. That was great content right there. And man, I hope you have a good rest of the evening. You enjoy Game 7. Have a good work week, and we will see y'all all later. Peace.
Peace. All right, big dog. I'll catch you.
Yes, sir. You have a good one.
You too, buddy.